You just dropped $94 on something you'll probably use once, maybe a second time if you're lucky. The funny thing is, you knew it wasn't necessary while you were clicking the checkout button. You already owned something that did almost the same job. You knew that money could have gone towards savings, investments, or a future goal. Yet you bought it anyway. Now it's sitting somewhere in your room, untouched, maybe even with the packaging still intact, a silent reminder of a purchase that doesn't really make sense when you think about it. And no, this doesn't mean you're bad with money. It doesn't mean you're careless. It doesn't even mean you lack self-control. It means you're human. Because in 2026, the systems designed to persuade people to spend money have become more advanced than ever before. Companies aren't simply advertising products anymore. They're studying behavior, tracking habits, analyzing emotions, and learning exactly how to influence decisions before you even realize you're making them. I'm Della, and I've spent years researching why smart, financially responsible people still end up buying things they never planned to purchase and often regret shortly afterward. If you've ever looked at a recent purchase and wondered, why did I buy that? Or if you want to understand the psychological tactics constantly working against your financial goals, make sure you subscribe and hit the like button if this video provides value. Because what you're about to learn could completely change the way you spend money. Let's start with the reality that most people never consider. Nearly every unnecessary purchase is the result of two forces working together: ancient human psychology and modern marketing technology. Your brain was designed to survive challenges that disappeared thousands of years ago. Back then, people worried about finding enough food, securing resources, and protecting themselves from genuine scarcity. Today, those same survival instincts still exist. The difference is that businesses have learned how to activate them for profit. In 2026, companies know exactly which emotional buttons trigger spending decisions. They know how to bypass logic. They know how to create urgency. And they know how to make you feel compelled to buy things you never intended to purchase. What's even more surprising is that understanding these tactics doesn't automatically protect you from them. You can know you're being influenced and still fall for it. That's because most of these psychological triggers operate beneath conscious awareness. Your emotions react before your rational mind has a chance to catch up. Let's look at the first, and arguably most powerful, financial trigger affecting millions of people every day: the scarcity illusion. Thousands of years ago, scarcity was real. If you discovered food, you couldn't assume more would be available tomorrow. If you found something valuable and didn't claim it immediately, someone else probably would. Human beings evolved to respond quickly whenever resources appeared limited. That response helped our ancestors survive. But in today's world, that same instinct often works against us. Most products are not actually scarce. Manufacturers can produce more. Stores can restock inventory. Alternatives exist almost everywhere. Yet your brain still reacts as if missing out is a serious threat. And retailers know it. Which is why scarcity has become one of the most effective sales tools in existence. Let's talk about Jason. It's nearly midnight. He's casually scrolling through social media before bed when an advertisement catches his attention. It's a jacket. Looks nice. But he doesn't need a jacket. He already owns several. Under normal circumstances, he'd keep scrolling. Then he notices the message underneath: only 4 remaining in your size. Another message appears: sale expires in 5 hours. Immediately, something changes. His heart rate increases slightly. A small feeling of urgency appears. What if he waits too long? What if the jacket sells out? What if it's exactly what he's been looking for? What if he regrets not buying it tomorrow? Logically, none of these thoughts make much sense. There isn't a global jacket shortage. The company can make more. Other brands sell similar products. But logic isn't running the show at that moment. His survival instincts see scarcity. And those instincts send a simple message: get it now before it's gone. 15 minutes later, Jason places the order for $96. 3 days later, the package arrives. He tries it on. It's okay. Not amazing. Not worth the excitement he felt online. The jacket ends up hanging in his closet for months before eventually being donated, still looking almost brand new. That story repeats itself millions of times every day. Because scarcity marketing is everywhere. You've seen the messages. Only 2 seats left. Offer ends tonight. Limited stock available. 14 people are viewing this item right now. Hurry before it's gone. These messages aren't designed to help you make better decisions. They're designed to prevent you from evaluating whether you actually need the product. And in 2026, things have become even more sophisticated. Artificial intelligence now personalizes scarcity messaging in real time. The website isn't showing the same message to everyone. It's studying behavior. It's analyzing clicks. It's measuring hesitation. It's learning what kind of urgency works best on you specifically. If countdown timers don't affect you, the system adjusts. If low inventory warnings increase your chances of buying, those warnings appear more often. If social pressure works better than scarcity, you'll see messages about other shoppers instead. In many cases, the urgency you're experiencing isn't even based on real inventory levels. It's generated by algorithms whose sole purpose is increasing conversions. In other words, the pressure feels personal because it is personal. The system is adapting to your psychology. And that's what makes scarcity marketing one of the most powerful financial traps of the modern era. Your brain sees a threat. Your emotions react. Your logic gets bypassed. And your wallet pays the price. The second psychological trigger quietly draining people's bank accounts is something I call the identity purchase trap. Here's the reality. Most purchases aren't really about utility. People like to believe they buy things because they need them. But more often than not, they buy things because of what those things represent. They purchase products that reflect the person they want to become. That's why people spend thousands on exercise equipment they rarely touch. It's why kitchen gadgets collect dust in cabinets. It's why books sit unread on shelves. They're not purchasing an object, they're purchasing a vision of themselves. Meet Emily. She wants to be healthier, more disciplined, more energetic. She's the kind of person who imagines waking up before sunrise, exercising consistently, and starting every day with purpose. One evening she comes across an advertisement for a premium home fitness system. It's sleek, professional. Exactly the type of equipment serious fitness enthusiasts use. At that moment, her brain isn't asking a practical question like, do I need this machine? Instead, it's asking something much more emotional. Is this the kind of person I want to become? And the answer is obvious. Of course it is. She wants to be fit. She wants to be consistent. She wants to be healthier. A few clicks later, she spent $2,600 on the equipment. For the first few weeks, everything goes perfectly. She uses it almost every day. She feels motivated, excited, optimistic. Then life starts happening. Work gets busy. Schedules change. Motivation fades. The workouts become less frequent. Eventually, the machine becomes little more than an expensive place to hang clothes. Now here's the important part. The purchase wasn't completely irrational. If Emily had used the equipment consistently for years, it might have saved money on gym memberships while improving her health. The problem wasn't the equipment. The problem was what her brain confused the purchase with. Her brain treated buying the machine as progress toward becoming a healthier person. But purchasing something and becoming someone are not the same thing. The purchase created the feeling of progress. The actual transformation required daily effort. And daily effort is much harder than clicking a buy now button. This is why identity purchases are so powerful. They allow you to experience the emotional reward of becoming someone before you've actually done any of the work required to become that person. And in 2026, this psychological trap is everywhere. Social media has amplified identity signaling to levels never seen before. People are constantly exposed to images of who they could be. Successful entrepreneurs, fitness enthusiasts, minimalists, investors, travelers, creative professionals. Every day, platforms present endless versions of idealized lifestyles. And companies position products as shortcuts to those identities. You're not buying a yoga mat. You're buying the image of being someone who practices yoga. You're not buying a high-end camera. You're buying the dream of becoming a photographer. You're not buying a planner. You're buying the feeling of being organized and productive. You're not buying a cookbook. You're buying the idea of being someone who cooks healthy meals at home. The actual product often becomes secondary. What matters is the identity attached to it. And that's where the financial damage begins. Because identity purchases create immediate emotional satisfaction. The moment Emily ordered her home gym, she felt different. She felt motivated, disciplined, committed. For a brief moment, she felt like the healthier version of herself she wanted to become. That emotional reward arrived instantly. The exercise did not. The discipline did not. The lifestyle change did not. Yet her brain still received the dopamine hit. In many ways, that feeling was the real product she purchased. The equipment was simply the vehicle that delivered it. This is why identity purchases often repeat themselves. Months later, when the excitement wears off, Emily doesn't necessarily conclude that buying things won't solve the problem. Instead, she starts looking for a new solution. Maybe a smartwatch. Maybe a fitness app. Maybe a nutrition program. Maybe a new set of workout clothes. The identity goal remains. The brain simply searches for another purchase that can recreate the feeling of progress. And businesses understand this perfectly. Modern advertising rarely focuses on features anymore. Instead, it focuses on identity. Watch a commercial for luxury watches. They're not selling timekeeping. They're selling success. Look at fitness advertisements. They're not selling equipment. They're selling transformation. Watch marketing for productivity software. They're not selling organization tools. They're selling the image of becoming more accomplished. The message is almost always the same. Buy this, and you'll become the type of person you admire. The dangerous part is that this message feels true. Sometimes it even sounds logical. After all, a gym membership can help someone get fit. A camera can help someone become a photographer. A planner can help someone become organized. The problem is that ownership and action are completely different things. Buying the tool is easy. Using the tool consistently is difficult. And your brain often rewards the easy part as if you've already accomplished the difficult part. That's why so many people own products connected to goals they never actually pursue. Unused workout equipment. Unopened courses. Unread books. Forgotten subscriptions. Abandoned hobbies. Each purchase represented an aspiration. Each purchase created hope. Each purchase delivered a temporary feeling of becoming someone new. But feelings don't create transformation. Behavior does. And that's the uncomfortable truth most advertisements never mention. You cannot purchase discipline. You cannot buy consistency. You cannot order motivation online. Those things have to be built through repeated action. Yet every day, companies continue selling products that imply otherwise. Because identity is one of the strongest forces driving human behavior. People don't just want things. They want meaning. They want growth. They want to become better versions of themselves. And when a product promises to help create that future identity, the temptation becomes incredibly difficult to resist. That's why the identity purchase trap remains one of the most expensive psychological triggers in modern consumer culture. It convinces people they're investing in their future selves. When in reality, they're often paying for a feeling that disappears long before the credit card bill arrives. The third psychological trigger attacking your finances is social proof and comparison spending. And in 2026, this one has become more dangerous than ever. To understand why, you need to understand how your brain evolved. For most of human history, people lived in small groups. Maybe 40 people. Maybe 60. Maybe 100. Everyone knew everyone. If the group accepted you, you survived. If the group rejected you, life became extremely difficult and sometimes even dangerous. As a result, the human brain developed an intense sensitivity to social status, group behavior, and comparison. Your ancestors constantly monitored what others were doing, what they were eating, how they were behaving, what resources they possessed. Keeping up with the group wasn't just a social preference. It was a survival strategy. And while the world has changed dramatically, your brain hasn't. Those ancient comparison instincts are still running in the background. The problem is that you're no longer comparing yourself to 50 people. You're comparing yourself to thousands. Sometimes millions. Meet Daniel. One evening he's scrolling through social media after dinner. A former college friend appears in his feed. The friend is spending a long weekend at a luxury beach resort. The photos look incredible. Ocean views. Fine dining. Private cabanas. Perfect sunsets. At first glance, Daniel simply sees vacation pictures. But beneath the surface, something else happens. His brain starts making comparisons. Why am I not doing things like that? How can they afford those trips? Am I missing out? Everyone seems to be enjoying life more than I am. Maybe I'm falling behind. Within an hour, Daniel finds himself browsing travel websites. Within a few days, he books a similar vacation package costing $1,050. Most of it goes onto a credit card because he wasn't planning for the expense. Now here's what's important. Before seeing those photos, Daniel was perfectly content. He wasn't unhappy. He wasn't dreaming about beach resorts. He wasn't actively planning a vacation. The desire appeared only after exposure to someone else's highlight reel. The purchase wasn't driven by genuine need. It was driven by comparison. And that distinction matters. Because comparison spending rarely comes from personal goals. It comes from emotional discomfort. The discomfort of feeling left behind. The discomfort of feeling less successful. The discomfort of believing everyone else is enjoying opportunities you're missing. Social media has turned that discomfort into a daily experience. Every platform is optimized to maximize engagement. And comparison generates engagement incredibly well. Think about what fills your feeds every day. New homes. New cars. Luxury vacations. Designer clothes. Expensive restaurants. Business successes. Fitness transformations. Relationship milestones. Promotions. Achievements. Purchases. Wins. Highlights. Your brain absorbs all of it. Hour after hour. Day after day. Without realizing it, you begin constructing a distorted picture of reality. It starts to feel like everyone is constantly upgrading their lives. Everyone is earning more. Everyone is traveling more. Everyone is buying better things. Everyone is somehow ahead. Of course, that's not reality. What you're seeing isn't real life. It's a carefully selected collection of peak moments. Nobody posts credit card statements. Nobody shares financial mistakes. Nobody uploads videos about their debt payments. Nobody highlights the anxiety behind many purchases. You see the reward. You rarely see the sacrifice. You see the celebration. You rarely see the stress. Yet your brain processes those images as evidence. And over time, that evidence creates pressure. Pressure to keep up. Pressure to match lifestyles. Pressure to buy things you never wanted until someone else owned them first. This creates what I call comparison spending. Comparison spending happens when purchases are motivated by other people's lives rather than your own values. You don't buy the car because you love it. You buy it because someone else got one. You don't upgrade your phone because yours stopped working. You upgrade because everyone around you seems to have the latest version. You don't take the trip because it aligns with your goals. You take it because seeing others travel makes staying home feel like failure. The tragedy is that comparison spending never actually solves the underlying problem. The purchase creates temporary relief. For a few days, maybe even a few weeks, you feel caught up. You feel like you've closed the gap. Then someone posts something new. A bigger house. A better vacation. A more expensive watch. A luxury vehicle. A career milestone. And suddenly the feeling returns. Because comparison has no finish line. There's always someone ahead. Always someone spending more. Always someone achieving something different. If your financial decisions are based on keeping up with everyone else, you'll spend your entire life chasing a target that constantly moves. And in 2026, algorithms make this problem significantly worse. Social platforms don't show content randomly. They prioritize content most likely to keep your attention. Content that creates emotional reactions. Content that makes you stop scrolling. Content that triggers envy, aspiration, curiosity, or excitement. The result is a constant stream of lifestyles designed to appear extraordinary. Your brain interprets this flood of information as normal. It begins treating luxury as average. Exceptional experiences start feeling ordinary. Rare purchases begin looking common. Gradually, your expectations shift. Things that once felt special now feel standard. Things that once felt luxurious now feel necessary. And that shift quietly changes your spending behavior. A person who once felt satisfied with a reliable vehicle suddenly wants something more impressive. Someone who enjoyed simple weekends suddenly feels pressure to create Instagram-worthy experiences. A perfectly functional home starts feeling inadequate. A healthy financial plan begins feeling boring. Not because anything changed, but because comparison changed perception. This is exactly why social proof is so powerful. Human beings naturally assume that if many people are doing something, it must be the correct thing to do. If thousands of people buy a product, it feels safer. If everyone seems to be upgrading their lifestyle, it feels normal. If everyone appears to be spending more yourself feels reasonable. Companies understand this instinct. That's why advertisements constantly include phrases like, most popular choice, best-selling product, thousands sold this week, join over 1 million customers. These messages activate your social proof system. They tell your brain that other people are already doing it. And if other people are doing it, maybe you should too. The danger is that your financial situation is unique. Your goals are unique. Your priorities are unique. Yet comparison spending encourages you to make decisions based on someone else's life. Someone with a different income, different responsibilities, different savings, different debt levels, different long-term objectives. And that's where financial problems begin. Because every dollar spent trying to impress strangers or keep up with other people is a dollar that isn't moving you toward your own goals. The truth is simple. Most of the purchases driven by comparison don't create happiness. They create temporary relief. Relief from feeling behind. Relief from feeling excluded. Relief from feeling inadequate. But relief isn't the same thing as fulfillment. And eventually, the comparison returns. Which means the spending returns too. That's why social proof and comparison spending have become some of the most expensive psychological traps of modern life. They convince you that everyone else is ahead. They persuade you that buying more will solve the feeling. And they keep you chasing a version of success that was never truly yours to begin with. The fourth trigger, the small spend trap. The fourth psychological trigger quietly draining bank accounts in 2026 is what I call the small spend trap. Here's why it's so dangerous. Your brain treats large purchases and small purchases completely differently. If you're considering spending $35,000 on a vehicle, you'll probably research for weeks. You'll compare options. Read reviews. Think carefully about affordability. Discuss it with family members. Maybe even lose sleep over the decision. But spend $18? $24? $37? Your brain barely notices. Those amounts feel harmless. Too small to matter. Too insignificant to deserve serious thought. And that's exactly where the problem begins. Because while one $24 purchase seems meaningless, 30 of them become $720. 40 become nearly $1,000. The individual transactions feel invisible. The total does not. Many people look at their monthly statements and wonder how they spent thousands of dollars despite not buying anything major. The answer is usually simple. They made dozens of tiny spending decisions that never felt important enough to question. Modern businesses have perfected this strategy. Everything is designed to make spending feel smaller than it actually is. Spend $30 more for free shipping. Only $8.99 per month. For easy payments of $29. Less than the price of lunch. Only a few dollars per day. These aren't random phrases. They're psychological tools. They shift your attention away from total cost and towards smaller numbers that feel painless. Meet Ryan. He downloads a mobile game. It's free. At least that's what it says. For the first week, everything is enjoyable. Then progress slows down. A special upgrade appears. Only $3.49. Not a big deal. A few days later another offer arrives. $5.99. Still small. Then a limited time character becomes available. $11.99. Then bonus resources. Then premium content. Then event passes. 3 months later, Ryan has spent over $260 on a game he originally downloaded because it was free. He never planned to spend that much. He never consciously decided to invest hundreds of dollars. Instead, he made dozens of tiny decisions that individually felt unimportant. This same pattern exists everywhere. Food delivery, online shopping, coffee runs, digital purchases, streaming add-ons, premium memberships. Small amounts repeated consistently become enormous expenses. And because each purchase feels insignificant, your financial defenses never activate. That's why small spending is often more dangerous than large spending. Large purchases get your attention. Small purchases slip past unnoticed. The fifth trigger, convenience exploitation. The fifth trigger has exploded in recent years. Convenience exploitation. Your brain is constantly trying to conserve effort. That's not laziness. That's efficiency. Human beings evolved to minimize unnecessary energy expenditure. Whenever two options exist, your brain naturally prefers the easier one. Businesses know this. And they've built entire ecosystems around making purchases easier than thinking. Imagine you need laundry detergent. Years ago, you would write it down. Remember it later. Visit a store. Find the product. Pay for it. Bring it home. That process created friction. And friction creates time for evaluation. Now, open an app. Tap twice. Done. Product arrives tomorrow. The convenience is real. But so are the consequences. Because the app doesn't stop at detergent. It recommends other items. Suggests bundles. Offers discounts for spending more. Encourages subscriptions. Highlights products other customers purchased. Before you know it, a $12 purchase becomes $48. The easiest option often becomes the most expensive one. Meet Lauren. She's watching a TV series one evening. A character uses an elegant coffee machine. It looks impressive. Within seconds, Lauren searches for it online. 30 seconds later, she's reading reviews. Less than 2 minutes after first seeing the product, she's completed the purchase. The machine arrives a few days later. After a week of use, she realizes her old coffee maker worked perfectly fine. The excitement disappears. The purchase remains. What made the transaction possible wasn't need. It was convenience. If purchasing required driving across town, finding a store, standing in line, and carrying the machine home, Lauren probably wouldn't have bought it. The convenience removed the thinking process. The purchase became easier than the evaluation. And that's exactly how modern commerce is designed to function. The sixth trigger, subscription psychology. The sixth trigger is especially powerful because it exploits a well-known cognitive bias. The sunk cost effect. Once people spend money on something, they become emotionally attached to the decision. Even when continuing makes no sense. Imagine you subscribe to a streaming platform for one specific show. It costs $15 per month. You finish the show. Logically, you should cancel. But you don't. Likely customers are to postpone it. And every month of delay generates more revenue. Businesses understand that most people don't cancel unused services because of cost. They fail to cancel because of psychology. The seventh trigger, emotional spending. This may be the most powerful trigger of them all. Because it doesn't target logic. It targets feelings. Imagine your manager criticizes your work. The feedback feels unfair. You leave frustrated, stressed, irritated. On your way home, you stop at a store and buy something for $70. Same result. Money leaves your account. The purchase isn't solving a practical problem. It's managing an emotional state. And modern algorithms are frighteningly good at identifying those emotional states. The content you engage with, the time you're browsing, the speed of your interactions, the searches you perform. All of it provides clues. Companies increasingly understand when you're vulnerable to spending. And they present products accordingly. Feeling anxious? Here's a solution. Feeling insecure? Here's an upgrade. Feeling successful? Here's a luxury reward. The recommendation feels natural. But often it's carefully timed emotional targeting. And because the manipulation feels personalized, it's incredibly effective. How to fight back? Now here's the important question. If all these psychological triggers are so powerful, what can you actually do about them? The answer isn't willpower. Willpower eventually runs out. Systems don't. The first solution is mandatory waiting periods. Every non-essential purchase gets delayed. See something you want? Perfect. Write it down. Screenshot it. Add it to a wish list. Then wait at least 72 hours. Most impulses fade surprisingly fast. What feels urgent today often feels irrelevant 3 days later. The second solution is awareness tracking. For the next month, record every purchase. Not to judge yourself. Not to feel guilty. Simply to gather information. Write down what you bought, how much it cost, how you felt before buying it. Patterns will emerge quickly. You'll discover emotional triggers you never noticed before. The third solution is adding friction back into spending. Remove saved payment methods. Disable one-click purchasing. Delete automatic checkout options. Force yourself to enter payment details manually. Those extra few seconds often create enough space for rational thinking to return. The fourth solution is spending guardrails. Set limits. Require additional approval for larger purchases. Create obstacles between impulse and action. You can still buy the item. You just have to think about it first. The fifth solution is